Jessie, and welcome back to the Happiness Hippie podcast. There is a strange habit many of us have, and once you notice it, you cannot really unsee it. We spend huge portions of our lives somewhere other than where life is actually happening. We replay conversations from years ago. We rehearse disasters that have not happened yet. We postpone rest, joy, and attention until some imaginary point in the future where everything is finally settled. Today's conversation comes from a piece called The Only Time You Have, a Stoic's Guide to the Present Moment, and it explores what happens when we stop treating the present like a waiting room and start treating it like life itself. I'm joined, as always, by the Happiness Hippie.
It's good to be here again, Jessie. And I think this topic touches almost everyone because most people, even very thoughtful people, spend a surprising amount of time mentally absent from their own lives. You can see it in ordinary moments. Someone is eating dinner while replaying an argument from 3 days ago. Someone else is lying awake planning conversations that may never happen. Another person is so focused on getting through the week, the year, or the next stage of life that they barely notice the day in front of them. We drift constantly between memory and anticipation, and eventually that drift starts to feel normal.
The opening examples in the piece are painfully recognizable. Lying awake, rewriting an awkward conversation, planning a future vacation so obsessively that the present becomes stressful. It sounds almost trivial when you describe it, but it adds up to an entire way of living.
It does, and what makes it difficult is that the mind often believes it is being useful. Replaying the past feels like preparation. Worrying about the future feels responsible. But most of the time, it is not productive reflection or practical planning. It's repetitive mental occupation. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply, which is remarkable when you consider he was writing nearly 2,000 years ago without smartphones, email, or constant digital interruption. Yet he was wrestling with the same restless mind people wrestle with now.
That is one of the things I appreciate about Stoicism when it's discussed properly. It's not cold or detached in the way people sometimes assume. There's something very humane about it. Marcus Aurelius was not writing theory for a classroom. He was trying to survive his own mind.
Exactly. Meditations was not written as a performance. It was private reflection. And because of that, it feels grounded. He was constantly reminding himself to return to what was real and immediate. One of the strongest ideas in the essay is this realization that the present is the only place life can actually occur. That sounds obvious at first, almost too simple, until you realize how rarely people truly live that way.
The quote you included from Marcus Aurelius really captures that. The line about how we never lose any life except the present moment.
Yes, and there's a kind of relief in that once it sinks in properly. People often carry the future as if it's already theirs. They speak about 10 years from now with a certainty that reality never promised. At the same time, they carry the past as if it's still active territory, where something can be repaired through endless mental replay. Marcus Aurelius strips that illusion away very calmly. He points out that the only thing you can actually lose is the moment you're currently in. The future exists as imagination. The past exists as memory. Both appear only as thoughts happening right now.
That changes the emotional weight of things. Because when people say they're afraid of losing the future, what they're really afraid of is a present thought about the future.
That is correct, and understanding that does not magically erase fear or anxiety, but it creates distance from them. You begin to see that many emotional storms are built from imagined continuity rather than immediate reality. Most people are not suffering from what is happening right now in this exact second. They are suffering from interpretation, projection, replay, or anticipation.
Which is why the line in the piece about treating the present as a waiting room feels so accurate. People postpone life constantly. They say they will relax after the promotion, after the mortgage, after retirement, after the children grow up.
And the danger is that this becomes an entire philosophy without anyone consciously choosing. Life becomes conditional. Presence becomes conditional. Happiness becomes conditional. You tell yourself that real living begins later, but later keeps moving. Then one day, you realize you spent years preparing for life instead of inhabiting it. That is why Stoicism is useful here, not because it removes difficulty, but because it keeps bringing attention back to reality instead of fantasy.
There is another point in the essay that I think people need to hear more often, especially people obsessed with productivity and longevity. The idea that a longer life is not necessarily a deeper life.
That part matters enormously. Modern culture often treats quantity as automatically superior. More years, more achievements, more experiences. But Marcus Aurelius points out something very humbling. Whether you live 30 years or 100 years, life still unfolds one present moment at a time. You're not living 100 years all at once. You're living this conversation, this breath, this meal, this walk, then the next one, then the next one. So the real question becomes less about duration and more about attention. What quality of presence are you bringing to the moments you actually have?
That reframing feels healthier because otherwise people become trapped in endless optimization. They try to squeeze more life into life without actually noticing the life already happening.
Yes, and ironically, that obsession often destroys the very thing people are trying to preserve. Someone can become so focused on maximizing the future, they stop experiencing the present altogether. They turn life into management rather than participation. The Stoic perspective is different. It asks whether you are awake to the life directly in front of you.
The second half of the essay becomes more practical, and I think that is important because people can agree philosophically with all of this while still struggling to apply it. You introduce what you call the memento vivere framework, which I liked because it shifts the usual remember you will die idea into remember to live.
Indeed, awareness of mortality should deepen presence, not create fear. The first practice in that framework is the gentle attention audit. And I think the word gentle there is important because people often become aggressive with themselves when they notice distraction. The point is not to force the mind into silence. That usually backfires. The point is to notice where attention goes. For a day or two, simply observe. Are your thoughts drifting backward into regret or nostalgia? Are they racing forward into worry and planning? Each time you notice it, you mark it mentally or physically. That noticing itself is already presence returning.
That part stood out to me because the essay makes a distinction between awareness and judgment. Most people merge those immediately.
They do. They notice distraction and instantly criticize themselves. But criticism often strengthens the loop because now you are not only distracted, you are also frustrated. Compassion creates a more stable environment for awareness to grow. You're not punishing the mind for wandering. You are guiding it back.
The second practice, the focused container, also feels very modern in a useful way because attention today is fragmented constantly.
Yes, and that fragmentation creates exhaustion because the brain keeps switching contexts. The focus container is intentionally simple. Instead of trying to dominate an entire day, you create one contained period of attention, 25 minutes, 1 hour. During that time, your responsibility is only the task in front of you. What matters psychologically is that the container feels manageable. The brain resists vague, endless demands. It responds much better to defined boundaries.
That is something people misunderstand about discipline. They think discipline means intensity, but often it means intelligent structure.
Precisely. Sustainable presence is built through design, not force. And the third practice, the purposeful pause, might be the most transformative because it changes ordinary moments. Before doing something repetitive or frustrating, you ask, what is the most purposeful or virtuous way to engage with this moment? Suddenly, washing dishes is not meaningless. It becomes care. Writing an uncomfortable email becomes an exercise in honesty and clarity. A difficult conversation becomes practice in patience and courage.
which means meaning is no longer postponed until big achievements. It becomes available in ordinary participation.
Exactly, Jesse. And that changes the emotional texture of daily life enormously. People often believe happiness requires dramatic change, but much of what they are really missing is attention. They are physically present, but psychologically elsewhere.
Toward the end, the essay becomes almost tender in the way it describes life as a necklace of present moments. Not in a poetic performance way, but in a grounded reminder that this is what a life actually is.
That image matters because people often evaluate life from a distance instead of through lived experience. A meaningful life is not one giant triumphant event. It is thousands of moments where attention, care, honesty, connection, and presence were either offered or withheld. And that means the present is not small, it is everything.
There is also a practical humility in the closing section, the reminder that presence is not reserved for naturally calm people or spiritually advanced people. It is available repeatedly through ordinary moments of awareness.
I think that's exactly right. Most people already have what they need to begin. They have breath, attention, perception, and the ability to notice when they have drifted away from themselves. The challenge is not access, the challenge is remembering. And once you understand that life only ever happens now, even imperfect moments begin to feel more valuable. A simple meal matters, a conversation matters, a walk matters. The ordinary parts of life stop feeling like interruptions and start feeling like life itself.
And when you begin to see it that way, there is less urgency to escape your own existence. You stop treating the present as something to get through and start relating to it as something worth inhabiting fully. If today's conversation resonated and you want more perspective on emotional clarity or building relationships that are grounded and real, begin at the Hour Approach page at happinesshippie.com. And please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for being part of this community. We'll talk again soon.